Wonderful Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name is Emily.
I was going to open actually with a new opening that said we're talking about Quark, which Emily made us watch. Okay, so we are in episode 4002. Four. Okay, sure.
Um,
Entitled.
it might be five though, because no, it is four. It is four.
We're not going back. Ever forward. Ever forward. Buck Henry's dead, right? He's not sitting somewhere mad at us right now.
He's
Okay, good.
passed away.
All right. He's listening to the podcast in heaven. So the good, the bad, and the ficus, which is, didn't you say you were like, I bet it's going to be a spaghetti western themed episode?
I did. I don't know. I'm like, why else would they name it that?
I don't know. Why would they name it that, Emily?
I don't know. I was excited. I like the trope of like the Bizarro thing. Do you remember C-Lab, the Bizarro episode of C-Lab?
No, but I remember the Mirror Universe episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Ask him. He was probably in his mid-60s when that one aired.
He only likes Next Generation and another one that I don't remember because I don't care.
So the episode opens. Okay, so right off the bat, I don't know if you will, but I will say that I was impressed that they did some special effects.
Yeah.
They did new special effects. They're not, I mean, it's not like equivalent would be. There's very few examples of outstanding low budget special effects in space flight pictures. I don't think I can think of one off the top of my head. But for primetime 1978 models, they do okay. The episode opens with the space station, of course.
Of course.
And
another setup. They could get rid of this setup where Quark meets some other space commanders and is blown away by the amazing, wonderful space work they're doing, and then is introduced as the garbage man, which is embarrassing for him. Like, they could do away with this. Like, it's done. We know, we understand. Unless they are anticipating new watchers every week.
I mean, it was the 70s, Emily. Who knows what they were on? Also, and this is I don't know if it would qualify as a pet peeve or just something I think is stupid about the show. They introduced Quark as the garbage man. His only story for the people is about being a garbage man. We've watched him save the universe twice. Mm-hmm. His last adventure involving princess fucking, legal age princess fucking. Okay, yes. Now we're not libertarians here. But he has done amazing things. He's been tasked with these amazing things from the big head. So it's very weird that, I don't know.
So a couple of things. He mentions when he's talking to these other commanders, like, oh, I've read about you in the papers, right? So I'm wondering if maybe he could talk about it, but I'm wondering if maybe he's just not getting written up because everybody underestimates him all of the time, even though, like you said, he's done all of these feats.
Lovely amount of slack you are giving the show. I'm going to say it's bad. Oh, I'm sorry, poorly written at times, many times. Also, what comes back this episode? Lots of the biggity shit. Yeah. So that was stupid.
Yeah. Against Ficus and against Gene.
Against Ficus, against Gene, we practically have a description of the Betty's hot pants as in terms of like Richard Benjamin's sexual attraction second by second. It's not Quark's upward trajectory. I think we can't really expect much from that. I think we could expect, how many more do we have? 4, 3? But I hope we get maybe we'll get 1.5 okay ones out of that. So their mission What is their mission even?
Um, oh boy. I think it's just a trash run. I think they're just doing a trash run.
Okay.
And they get,
Um,
yeah.
so they get sucked into a black hole, but before that, we have to talk about our B plot, which is Ficus wearing around something on his ear. And every time he starts,
So this is annoying because everybody asks him, what do you have on your ear? And every time he starts explaining, that same person starts yelling at him to shut up because he's using big words. Really annoying. I found that was the most annoying part.
I can see that. We'll get to the Richard Benjamin, but it's another one of those things where Richard Benjamin's good for part of it, but it's sort of not like a great sign that he's good for the part of it that he's good for and not the other part of it.
And he was bad for a lot of it.
Yes. Um, I mean, I don't even know how, there's not really a comparable to Richard Benjamin. He's like, I'm trying to think of somebody who's appropriate. He's like, what was that guy's name? Tony Roberts?
From all of those movies from that
That I'm not
director that,
mentioning the other person
yeah, yeah,
intentionally right now. Yes.
yeah.
Richard Benjamin is like a milquetoast Tony Roberts who's already milquetoast. Like, I don't know.
Tony Roberts has like a voice.
I mean, yeah, Richard Benjamin is barely explicable. Like,
Yeah, he's not very remarkable. He does look a little elfish, but like other than that, he's not very remarkable.
and
And he's not a great actor.
he's not a compelling screen personality.
Mm-mm.
It's very strange. Especially, well, I mean, he went from doing movies in 73 to Quark in 77.
Mm.
So he was not, well, he went on to directing. Um,
Okay.
so I do still need to see my favorite year again. I know that that has a lot of high regard. I don't remember having that high of regard for it, but I would see it again, I suppose. Okay, so they fall into a black hole,
Hmm.
interrupting one of Ficus's explanations about his head as ear thing. They Quark yells at Ficus to explain himself. Ficus is like, about my ear or about the black hole? And he's like, the black hole, obviously. And Ficus is like, well, we just saw it 12 seconds ago, so my information is limited. And it's just like, we talked about how he was basically Spock doing a bad Spock. The
Yeah.
guy who plays Ficus seems completely and utterly fucking miserable on this show.
Yeah, he
Like,
does. He's not
it's
having any fun with it.
nope.
Yeah.
He might as well just be like, I trained at Juilliard. Every other
Yeah.
word. Like, I don't know if he trained at Juilliard. I doubt it, based on what we're seeing here. But I mean, Tim Thomerson is at least energetic, despite now we had talked about how they've been doing a better job with Gene's female side. They don't
It
return
kind
to
of
Tim
falls by the
Thomerson
wayside.
doing a voice, but they
Right.
do
There's some
make it.
biggity comments.
Yeah, there's biggity comments. There's, well, what I find it most interesting about this one is that Quark's problem with Gene this episode does not appear to be, yes, Quark makes biggity comments about Gene being a transmute, but it Quark really gets annoyed by Gene's female half. So
Yeah.
it just reads as like veiled misogyny.
And but the Bettys also
Yeah.
make some comment about Jean being weird. But it's the female Jean, I think, that they're talking about specifically. Like that's not the only weird thing about Jean. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Um, so they fall into the black hole. They all think they're going to die. They look at pretty colors. We go through this whole thing about how the pressure's dropping to zero
Yeah.
and they're about to die, but then they don't, and they come out the other end of the black hole. So this is 78. So I believe,
There's like
was it?
pretty limited knowledge of black holes,
Yeah.
but Stephen Hawking had made some pretty big theoretical sort of analyses um, in like 74.
Okay.
So, but
Because
it's still more limited, obviously, in 1978 than it is in 2025.
right.
So, that's one of my favorite things about science fiction is, especially old science fiction, is like my husband and I watched a movie about it was like a silent movie, like a French silent movie about people going to Mars. It wasn't the one you're thinking, or not the moon, but it was about people going to Mars, and it was like the rovers hadn't been to Mars yet, so nobody knew what it looked like, and so filmmakers had this like open, free expression to decide what Mars looks like. It was so cool to think about, like not knowing something and having to make it up, and then 100 years later, us knowing different. I love it. But this is not that. This is just flashing colors on a screen. It's like changing, your computer monitor in 1984 to show different things.
Yeah, so I think there was a black hole in one episode of Star Trek, the original series, at least one. But the black hole, the movie from Disney, would not come out till '79. So I don't
Mm.
know if that had been announced and we were trying to get in on the presumed sci-fi zeitgeist a little bit because we don't have this is a very we don't have a lot of we don't have any as far as I can remember, which is hard because we'll get to why I might not remember some of this. Uh, we don't have any Star Wars references here, other than
No.
I'm pretty sure we see one of the characters from the cantina from behind, and they're using the Halloween mask version of the
Oh.
horned guy from the cantina, and Quark talks to him. We also
Mm.
open with that little furry guy having lady troubles.
Also, yeah, again, having trouble with the ladies. And
It's such a good bit. So good.
instead of getting advice from Palindrome, he's getting advice from Quark, which comes back in the end, too. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get more of that little hairy alien.
Furry. I think he'd be furry. He's hairy. No. So they fall into the black hole, and then when they come out of the black hole, they have split in two.
There's a special effect where the two ships kind of separate from one
Yeah.
another.
And these ships, or at least Quark Prime's ship, does not have any sensors to notice this. They were too busy talking to Ficus about his ear thing or
And
something
yelling
going
at
on.
him about him using words that are too big, even though they're in space.
Space has only got 5 letters, dude. Come on now. Uh, we then cut to
Back
a
to the space.
garbage.
The
No, don't we have the garbage scene first?
Yeah, you're right. There's a scene. Oh God, and this was so gross. Did you find it gross, or am I just potty brain? Where it's like they use gross words, and it's like, never mind. I might cut that out. I'd have to go back because I don't remember because I'm too tired. But
Okay.
they use like gross words, and it seems like a penis is getting inserted into a vagina. That's what it sounded like. The words that they're using sounded like that.
I don't remember. All I remember is
I know you're not sex positive, but that's what it
that's
in my
true.
brain sounded like. And so I like if this were a visual podcast, I would make faces like I am currently, and you would see how like upset I was having to hear this. Um, but they extract garbage from this other ship, and do we see it explode?
I don't
Do
know
we
if we
see them
see
shoot the lasers, or we
we
see
see
the
them shoot
lasers
the
later?
lasers. We see the lasers. I don't know if we see the ship itself explode.
Okay.
Maybe we do, but if we do, it's not a big explosion. Like it's not a huge effect sequence. We then cut to a space station in panic where Palindrome is being woken up in the middle of the night. Now,
I was wondering why he was wearing a space robe.
yeah, so I don't know if I talked about this last time, but it seems like the space station is always in some state of panic or not,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know, um, which is, I guess, just part of the bit. Um, But the fleet admiral has arrived, played by Jeffrey Lewis. Is this our first Jeffrey Lewis, or did he show up on like Automan?
I don't remember Jeffrey Lewis before.
Okay. So Jeffrey Lewis shows up, and he is the fleet admiral, and he's very mad. He wants to talk to the big head because one of the garbage scows blew up a
It's the
space
ship.
freighter.
It's the ship that um they were that I almost said Automan, that Quark and his crew are there to, it's like their mission to go to
Oh,
the ship.
okay.
That's that's right,
That's right.
because it's discovered that Quark blew up this ship and he must be a Gorgon, which is, the long running enemy of humanity. And even though
Except
they're
they're
also
humans. Yeah.
humans, yeah. And and they call Quark and he's like, we haven't even gotten there yet. How could we have done this? We haven't even gotten there yet. We're on our way. So my question is, did the black hole spit them out back where they were? Again, not that they need to have expanded knowledge of black holes, but it just seems weird that they're still on their mission. Like they go into the black hole and they come out somewhere. I mean, I guess that can happen, but
Can
you'd
it?
be
That's your
spaghetti.
experience with traveling through black holes.
You'd be
Um,
spaghettified. You'd be spaghettified.
so there's this whole thing about how Palindrome's like, Quark would never do that. He's one of the most resourceful, responsible captains, commanders in the fleet. And they were on nap time. So that's the joke, is they were on nap
Yeah.
time. Um,
Except for Gene, who's in boy Gene mode, and he's like got a gun and his eyes are all big and he's ready for action. Or maybe they don't explain it and it's his turn to guard, but he's still in his bed.
yeah, he's in his pod, so there's not a lot he could do. All right, you're gonna have to help me.
Okay. Why do I have to help you? Didn't you watch it?
So I might have dozed off during some of this episode, and
Oh,
I decided that it was not worth going back and rewatching it. So my memory is that they interact with the alien or the evil clone ship.
yeah, the Bizarro ship. So Quark, evil Quark. So they kind of figure that they're like Ficus, I think, says like, oh, it's a possibility that this could happen. And then cut to, oh no, they see that the sanitation ship, there's a sanitation ship with the same markings as them.
Yes.
So they call over to that ship, and then they have evil Adam Quark, which is just uh, Richard Benjamin with a scowl, and kind of being like Snidely Whiplash. Like he doesn't
Yep.
actually have a mustache, but he is just sort of like really terrible. But they have an interaction, and we kind of see the other evil people. So there's evil Jean, who is just like male Jean. Like we never see evil Jean as a woman, right?
No.
And so it's just like toxic masculine man Jean. And
Yep.
then we see Ficus, who is exactly the same, and he
Yep.
says there are no good plants or bad plants, there are just plants. And then we get the clone and the Bettys, and they are not sweet and enthusiastic and nice, helpful. They and like comically, like literally, I saw them very briefly. I mean, they're not in this hardly at all. They have nothing to do. But they were like Lulu Fishpaw, like this like shaking and hypersexual, but in like a John Waters-esque
Mm.
way. Like it was so bizarre. I was like, oh my God, that is literally a scene from Polyester. Like that's literally John Waters must have saw that and stole that for that character. Like it was really fucking weird. But I don't really know. So they discover that the evil ship was the actual perpetrator of the crime against the other ship. And Adam, both the Adams are like, we're gonna get you. And the good Quark wants to just talk Bad Quark wants to have a fight. And there are a couple other scenes where I just want to get this scene out of the way, and then we can go back to the space station. But the two, the good and the bad sanitation ships, they have encounters just essentially just through their communications thing. So the robot meets the bad robot, and it's just like, I mean, it's like meatwad. It's just like this toothless, like, hey, you bag of bolts, like, I mean, it's just like this weird toothless mean thing, but it's not actually doing any harm to anybody. I don't know, it was so weird. And then again, Gene and Gene, but they're just yelling at each other. They're essentially exactly the same character. The Bettys meet each other, but they don't even interact, I don't think. And then Ficus, good Ficus and other good Ficus just sort of like rattle off big words and fake science. But that's the only encounter that all of them have together.
Yep.
And meanwhile, back on the space station, there's like a witch hunt. Like, we're gonna find Adam Quark. He wrote this essay in second grade where he says that he thinks the Gorgons are funny, and this kind of like greedy, overeager guy takes that as proof that Adam Quark is a Gorgon sympathizer and we should kill him. And before they can do that, the two atoms agree to meet on a planet unarmed. The bad Quark says to fight to the death. The good Quark says, no, no, we just want to have a conversation. And as the good Quark is freaking bitching and moaning about, no, no, I don't want to die. I just want to have a conversation. I just want to have a conversation. He gets transported onto this planet where the bad Quark has got a laser gun, starts shooting at him, pew, pew, pew. And I don't even know how that gets resolved.
They end
But
up back on the ship.
they end up back on the ship,
Good Quark gets the upper hand somehow.
and
They tractor beam
they
the
tractor beam
Bizarro ship.
the Bizarro ship and send it back into the black hole.
Yes.
Very low stakes.
Very low stakes. Along the way, they did blow up another ship off screen, I think just before Quark,
Oh, did
Good
they?
Quark runs into them. Yeah, it gets covered in the space station stuff. We don't get to see it. And so we go back to the space station for a resolution where we finally find out what's up with Ficus's ear monitor. And it basically is just like a fucking ear monitor. He's just like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to see.
Nope, it regulates his no, it doesn't regulate. It's like one of those things you put in a planter that tells you when your plant is dry.
Yeah.
So it tells him when he is too dry and he needs to hydrate.
Cool. Seems like a good idea.
Seems like a great idea.
Everybody should drink more water.
I was hoping that the ear thing would be the indicator, like, of good ficus versus bad ficus. Like, I kept waiting for that. Like, there was going to be some confusion, like I'm thinking too complex. I'm thinking of
Very
not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, how are we going to know the good one from the bad one?
I think you're thinking more like, I Love Lucy versus Quark, basically, in terms of Chekhov's guns. Yes, I said it. Or following through on a bit, or knowing what a bit is. Like, then we end with Gene and Ficus bickering. Palindrome saying something like, man, if I had your crew, I'd throw them all out the airlock or something. And Quark looks at the camera and we get his voiceover and he's like,
Captain's log situation.
Captain's log. Palindrome's right. They are a bunch of losers, but they're my losers. And I'm just like, man, you suck. You just like, there's so other tidbits. Evil Quark is very mean to the Bettys about the clone thing. So like,
yeah,
meaner than the regular Adam is, which,
yeah,
regular Adam thinks there's one of them is subhuman. Alternate Bizarro Quark is like, I mean, I don't care which one you use human. You can both be subhuman as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah.
that's something.
So at the end, they're all on the space station, and the little hairy guy comes up to the Bettys, and the Bettys are like, "We're already taken,"
I
and
told you that
drapes
too.
themselves all over Adam Quark, even though he's not interested because he doesn't know which one is
The clone.
the clone and which one is subhuman. What else happens? I think that's it.
That's
I mean,
about
it
it.
doesn't matter.
No, there's some more with Jeffrey Lewis around, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know if there's anybody besides Jeffrey Lewis who ranges from I hate this so much I never want to watch filmed media again to he's okay. Like it's I mean he's never I don't think he's ever good, but
Yeah.
like as far as 70s hacks go, he can be with the worst of them, but he also has the capacity to actually be a little bit better. We don't see that here.
I think that he looks like, and he reminds me of somebody, not anybody specific, but an actor who would be in like Zucker Brothers. Like he and because I think that that Palindrome was in Airplane.
Okay.
I think he was. But he just
Yes, I think he was.
the way they played off of each other really, really reminded, like it was like, oh, these two were in Zucker Brothers movies together. Like, there's no way they weren't. Um, yeah, but that's the end of that one. It was okay. I didn't really love it. The limitations of a 25-minute show with no budget for special effects, I guess, right? Um,
Uh, Writing and acting.
Bad writing. That was Stuart Gillard again.
Did he do the last one? Does he have the credit for the
Uh,
last one?
I don't know. I thought I saw Steve Zacharias on there
That's
again,
right.
but this Wikipedia says Stuart Gillard.
Mm.
Uh, next week, next week's episode is called "Goodbye Columbus," which is supposed to be a play on "Goodbye Columbus," starring Richard Benjamin. Um, Quark and his crew are sent on a mission to Columbus to discover why nobody has returned alive, and they fall prey to their fantasies. I'm going to leave it at that. There's some sexy, sexy fun time happening, and I seriously, seriously hope
Oh,
the Gene situation doesn't turn super duper problematic. Um, yeah, that's it. That'll be episode 5. We'll be that much closer. We're halfway done. We're halfway done.
no more hour-long specials, I don't think.
I don't
Um,
think so.
we can also note that when it comes to these titles, the idea of, I mean, TV shows like Automan, I think had show titles on it. But in general, a network sitcom or a network drama did not have show titles that anybody knew about or cared about until like TiVo episode guides in the
Yeah, yeah. I
like
mean,
2000s,
TV
late
guides didn't have
90s.
episode titles, right?
Yeah, I don't, not, they might have got them eventually, but not originally. And they
Yeah,
were just there for when you were submitting your stuff for Emmy consideration. It was just so
yeah,
there'd be some other reference point besides the air date, I guess. But so the witticisms of these titles were not shared
yeah.
with the show's adoring public back in '78.
Goodbye Columbus is a Richard Benjamin movie also starring Ally McGraw. You got to have a little romance with Ally McGraw. That's not fair.
When's it from?
1969. Nice.
Wow. Okay, that's the level of maturity we go for around here, folks. Okay, so
Okay, so we will see you next time, I guess.
well, yes, but we do have
But
that website that folks can go to at
Ooh,
onesiespot.com. We did
yay.
get that up and running, so there you go.
Great. Well, we will see you there. And do we have merch for sale? Do we have the
We do have merch for sale.
No Nuance for Nazis
We
shirts?
do indeed have no nuance for Nazi shirts. And we
Cool.
have a new version of Hot and Steamy. And oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I can't wait to visit that website.
There you go. You can't wait to visit your website and see your t-shirt design.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we will see you next time when we discuss episode 5 of Quark. Goodbye, Columbus. Goodbye, Andrew. I will see you in television land.
Goodbye, Emily. I'll see you in television land.